In this video, we're going to be taking a look at how you can get started using MagicSchool with your students. Obviously I've been putting out some videos that are focusing on some of the individual tools that are available to teachers, and you can see down here, they've got some new ones. They are continuing to add to these, and so there's a ton here for you. But again, one of the things that I think makes MagicSchool powerful and why we wanted to give this a try is because it does give us this opportunity to use it with students. And first of all, what I think is important about that is the way it does it, you're going to see, is a very kind of measured and controlled way. It's not wide open. You as the teacher get to decide what, if any, tools they have access to. And then within those tools, you get to have a good deal of help in kind of molding and pointing them in the right direction. Additionally, me and my role, one of the things I appreciate is that it's fully Ed Law 2D compliant, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay? Now, if you want to see what tools the students have access to compared to you, if you come up here and you click on Magic Student, this will show you the list of student tools. We'll get into these more in a minute, though, so let's come back over here. Okay? So in MagicSchool, in order to get started using this with our kids, all you need to do is come over here and on the left side click this purple Launch to Students button. And when I do, it takes me to this screen which says Student Rooms, and it's going to be set on your active rooms, and you'll see I have currently no active rooms. So let me talk for a second about just the language they use and conceptually how they're going about this. Student rooms are not necessarily something that you're going to use all year long. These are like a group of tools that you want a group of kids to have access to for a given amount of time. It could be something that's all year. You could have an ongoing suite of tools that you want them to have access to. But it could also be something that is aligned with a particular unit or a particular lesson even. And then once you're done with that, you'll be phasing it out, and kids won't be using that room anymore, and you'll be moving on to something new. Okay? So at the elementary level, these could be by subject. You could have, a math room, an ELA room, and so on. At the secondary level, as I said, this could be more kind of unit-based or lesson-based. So for me, I apologize to the elementary people who might be watching. My background is secondary social studies, so as we're working through an example here, that's the route I'm going to be going, just because it's more about how to get this going than what the content is. So to get started, all I need to do is come up here and I click on Launch New Room. So I click on that, and we come to this screen, and you'll see there are three parts to this process. There's Details, Tools, and Customize. Details is just where we're going to give it a name. This is, again, and it tells you right there, this is the name that's visible to all students. It's also going to help me if I start having more than one room at a time. It's going to tell me which room that is, and so I might want to make sure I've named it in a way that's meaningful. So for me, for instance, I'm going to call this period 1, and I don't know, I'll just say, because I've taught Constitution and U.S. history, I might build a room around things that I knew in the Constitution were tough for kids, or that I wanted them to really be able to focus in on. And this is probably a little too specific, but again, you'll get the idea. Right, so I've got that as the title, and then grade level, and when you put a mouse over it, it gives you information about it. But a lot of this will have this will be the default grade level for any of the tools that you add, but you can customize that as we go in, and I'll show you how. Don't worry about the max students really, because this is just, you could set a cap on how many students could join it. I'm not sure why you'd want to, but anyway, I've always left it at 250. You definitely want to make sure this is left checked active. You do want to require a login. You want students to have to log in to get there. Again, they log in with the Google button, so it's not an additional username or password or anything, but you'll see in a minute why you definitely want them logged in to use it. Okay, so once I've done that, I just need to come here and click on next. And now we're taken to the tools page. And this is where I can pick which of those student tools I want to add. And as I said before, you can roll a room out with as few as one tool to all of them if you want. I can't imagine why you would do that. That'd be kind of nuts. But you can have as many or as few tools as you want in a student room. Okay. Again, probably best to sort of focus it in on a few at a time. The other thing I want to mention before I forget is you're never locked in here. And what I mean is, like, if I add a couple of tools and then I roll this out to the kids and listening to their feedback or whatever, I realize, oh, it probably would have been great if I had also put this in. You can go ahead and do that. You can come back in and edit a room even as it's being used by students and add tools, take tools out, customize tools, recustomize tools, all that stuff. So you're never, prohibited from making changes, so don't worry about that. Okay? So in this video, I'm not going to be focusing on going through a lot of depth in these tools because there's a lot here. My goal really is just to show you how to get up and running and roll this out to kids. So I'm really just going to pick one for right now. And the one I'm going to pick is right here, Tutor Me with AI. And you'll see it says Get Tutored by Raina, which is MagicSchool's chatbot. Get tutored by Raina on any topic or subject you're learning. So you'll see when I put my mouse over it, it says click to add. So I do that, and you'll see that if I come up here now, tools to launch, I've got Tutor Me with AI added. If I decided that was a mistake and I want to get rid of it, again, I can just click there, remove it, okay, add it, add other ones in. All right. As I said, don't get so caught up thinking like I have to make exactly the right choices at this point, because you could do this one at a time. It doesn't matter. You don't have to have everything set all at once. So I'm just going to go ahead with one tool for right now, and I'm going to click on next. And this takes me to the customize screen. And it says click a tool below to customize before launch, which is optional, although I can't imagine why you wouldn't customize it. And you'll see why in a minute, because this is where things start to become really powerful. So it says available to customize. I haven't customized any tools yet, but available to customize. So if I just click on that, it brings me here. And I can, first of all, over here on the right-hand side, you'll see it says preview of what students will see. So this is what the students are going to see when it gets rolled out to them and they click on this tool. So first of all, I'm going to change the name, and I'm going to say, I'm just going to call it Separation of Powers Tutor. Okay. And if I wanted to put a description in here, I could say, get tutored by Raina on separation powers and checks and balances. I'm not going to waste your time watching me type. Grade level. Here's where, again, by default, it's always going to be set to 11th grade because that's what I set the grade level at initially. But I can change that. Okay, so I can change that anywhere I want. And remember, what grade level affects is the reading level. So if I decided that I had a group of students in mind for this particular tool and I wanted to kind of scale the reading back, I could do that. Okay, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. Now, here's where things are really important. Describe what, here's what it says. Describe what you were learning that the AI tutor can help you with. So they phrase it from the student voice, so it makes it feel a little misleading. This is where we, as the teacher, we can give the AI some parameters and focus it in on what we want it tutoring the students on. So I can say, focus on the U.S. constitutional principles of separation of powers and checks and balances. I can say I want the students to really understand how the three branches function to keep each other from becoming too powerful. Okay, and I could even go into, if I wanted to, like, give it specific standards, state standards that I wanted to focus on, I could even do that here, okay? But I'm going to leave that as is for now. Now, back over here to the preview for a second. I don't need students, or I probably don't even want students to see this. I don't want them to see what I'm priming the AI with. They don't need it. So what I can do is I can click that box right there, that little eyeball rather, that icon, and to hide it, and you'll see that now this is all the students are going to see. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to click next, and the reason why I want to do that is because now it gives me the chance to test it out, and it's really important to do that. Okay, especially as you're getting started here and you're just figuring out how things kind of work, do use it. Try it, make sure that whatever parameters you put in there are working the way you want them to work. Okay, so click on generate, and this is exactly how it's going to work for students. So she gives you a little blurb, says, we're going to be talking about these things, and then here's what I really like. Like sometimes with a open chat bot, it puts the onus on the kids to kind of get the conversation started. Because we're working with the tutor tool, it starts right in with a question. So it says, before we dive in, could you tell me what you already know about the separation of powers and checks and balances in the U.S. government? This will help me tailor our discussion to your current understanding. Okay, so I could say, the government is divided into 3 branches. Each has a different set of powers. Okay, great start. You're absolutely right that the government is divided into 3 branches, each with different powers. That's the foundation of separation of powers. Let's build on that knowledge. Can you name the 3 branches of government? And if you can, try to recall what general function each branch serves. So I'm not going to make you go through this, but like if I said, okay, I named the 3 branches, well, let me actually show you this because I want you to see some of the feedback that it gives, the kinds of feedback. So if I said executive, legislative, and Congress, which is obviously wrong. I want you to see how it handles it. Okay, so you're on the right track. You correctly identified 2 of the 3 branches, executive and legislative. However, there's a small mix-up with the third one. Congress is actually part of the legislative branch, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so the point is it's constantly giving feedback. It's not just, yes, you're right, no, you're wrong. It's giving feedback. It's helping reinforce what they're doing right, helping explain what they're doing wrong. Again, pretty helpful with these kinds of things, especially when you're talking about concepts that kids struggle with every year. Gives them another opportunity to kind of practice that knowledge, which I think is important. Okay, now let's say, and by the way, you'll notice like the students can have it read aloud, which is pretty cool. Let's say that I decided that there's something about this I don't like. All I have to do is click back, and it brings me back here, and I can start tweaking this. I could decide I wanted to focus in on, maybe I wanted to do 1 branch or whatever. I could put those parameters in here. Let's say that I decide that for the group of students I have in mind that reading level is a little too advanced. I could decide, okay, well, let's try dropping that back. Okay. And when I do that, all right, and now, so you'll notice that it's the same stuff. It's going to be the same stuff, but it's going to be different reading level. Some of it's going to be a little bit streamlined, but all of that is based on changing that grade level. Okay, and again, that's not something the students have to see. I've got that left out, but that's a pretty powerful tool too. Okay, so when I am happy with this, I'm happy with the customization, I just go ahead and click next. Okay, and done. So now back in my tool list, you'll see that it shows that customize tools. It's popped the tutor up there, and it's got the customized label on it. It also has this trash can, so if I decided I didn't like that customization, I could just trash it here. We don't want to do that, though. I could also, at this point, go back if I want to. It's going to take me back to the tools page, so I could add something else. Let's say I decided I wanted to add the quiz yourself tool. So after they're done with the tutoring, they can let the AI quiz them on separation of powers. And again, same thing, I'd use the customized settings to kind of focus that AI tool in on the topics I wanted them quizzed on, maybe the types of questions I wanted to ask, and so on. Okay? So once I've got all my tools in here and they're all customized, at least to my satisfaction for their initial rollout, all I need to do is click on the button that says Launch Room. So I click on that, and it's going to give me my options for how do you get this out to the students. And you have three options. One is you can give them a link, okay, so you could, put a link someplace if you wanted to, and they could do that. You can do a QR code if you wanted, although, with students not able to have their phones, kind of limited use for that. My opinion, if you're using Google Classroom, which I hope you are, this is hands down the best way to do this and gives you a lot of flexibility and additional tools, which I think are great. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that and show you what I mean. So because I'm already logged in and I've already given it access to my Google account, it pops up and asks me which class I want to choose this or share this with. Let me make that a little bit bigger here, bring it down to the middle so you can see it. And if I click this, you'll notice it's only going to let me pick one class, okay? And I'll come back to that idea in a minute. So I just need to pick one of the classes that I want to use this with. And then it's going to be pushing this out as an assignment, and you're going to see why that is, in my opinion, the best way to do this. Even if I don't want it graded, okay? So I could say it's going to be an ungraded assignment. I can still set due dates or whatever if I wanted to, just like you would with any other assignment. And up here I could change the title. So this is just, it popped in the name of the room. I could change this to whatever I want, like review on separation of powers or something like that. And then here in the instructions, I could put in, I want you to spend, try to spend at least 15 minutes using the AI tutor to review these ideas. And then I want you to spend 10 minutes using the quiz yourself tool to see where you're at. Okay. And then I might also, if this is especially early on in our use of MagicSchool with students, I might put down there a reminder that don't forget you just need to use the Google button to log in. There's no additional username and password. Okay? For the sake of time in this video, I'm just going to leave all this stuff as it is for now. But over here, two important things I want to show you. First of all, if you are a secondary teacher, and let's say you've got, I've got 3 sections of U.S. history, and I want to use the same room with all 3 of them because you could use 3 separate rooms. I could duplicate the room, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. So I could have a separate student room for period 1, a separate student room for period 2. I could do that, and that's fine. And there may be reasons why I'd want to do that. But the reality is the students can't interact with each other. They don't even see each other. They don't know who's in the room. It's meaningless from their end. So I could just decide to put them all in one room, and it would be fine as long as it's the same set of tools with the same set of customizations. Doesn't matter. So what I could do here is I can come in and say, okay, period 1, period 2, period 3, I'm going to check these boxes, and I'm going to push this assignment out to all 3 of these at the same time, so all 3 of those classes are going to get access to this particular room. Okay, so I could do it that way. The other thing I can do, though, which, again, coming back to, plug for Google Classroom, let's say that this is a little bit into my instruction in the Constitution, and we've already done a quiz or something, and I've identified a group of students who are struggling with some concepts, and I want to give them some remediation and some additional resources. What I can do is, where it says Assign To, I can click that, and I can say, instead of assigning it to all students, I just want that student, or I just want that student and that student. to get this assignment. And what's nice about that, again, is you're differentiating here by targeting groups of kids that need these particular resources. Nobody else in the class has to be aware of this. Nobody else sees it. Nobody else knows that this assignment was pushed out. The only people that see it are the students that you give it to. Okay, so for right now, though, I'm just going to leave that as all students. I'm going to click on done. I'm going to leave all these things. Again, I could put in date, I could put in topic if I wanted to, and all that stuff. But for the sake of time for us right now, I'm just going to go ahead and click assign. And what it does is then it pushes it out to the Google Class, and it says, do you want to look at it? Do you want to view it? So it opens up my Google Classroom, and here is that class, and here is that assignment. Okay, so if I click on the assignment, I can see the students that are in the class, but if I go to instructions, again, here's what the kids are going to see. They'll, whatever instructions I wrote for them, and there's that link that they would need to click on to have it, take them out to that class. Okay. Now let me come back over here though and close this. So now, if I just look at student rooms again, now you'll see I've got an active student room, and it's going to tell me what tools I have that are active right now in that class. If I need a reminder, if I'm trying to remember which room is that, I can take a look there. I can obviously edit the name of the room if I needed to, if I wanted to change that, slim it down. Over here, I'll come back to status in a second. It shows me how many students have joined it. Okay, until they log in the first time, that's going to stay 0. And then last edited by me, and then down here at the end we have actions. And if I click on that for a second, here's where if I wanted to go back in and I wanted to add or remove tools, I wanted to change customization, whatever, I would do that here. I would go into edit. If I decided I wanted to duplicate this room and push it out to another group of kids, I can do that using duplicate. I can delete it to get rid of it when I'm done with it if I know I'm never going to need that again. Okay. Join info is if I wanted to get that link or the QR code. Okay. And then share template if I want to send this to another teacher and show them like, hey, here are the tools that I used, here's the customization. I can do that from there. Okay. Now, status. I just mentioned you can delete a room. Here's some other things that you can do with a room, though, too. You can pause a room. So if a room is active, that means students actively have access to it. If you've pushed it out, if you've given the link to them, anybody with that link, anybody can come in here and use that room, okay? If you pause a room, and let me come back over here because now I'm in the pause tab. If I pause a room, they'll be able to see it. They'll be able to see the tools, but they're not actually going to be able to use them, okay? And then the last option is to lock a room, which means like they won't even be able to get in to see the tools. Let me come back to active for a second. Now, why would you want to do those things? Well, you might want to lock a room because you're done using it. You're done with that topic. You don't need it cluttering up their screen. You don't need it cluttering up yours. But maybe you want to lock it because you really like the way that customization worked. You really liked the way you wrote that prompt or whatever. It really worked out well. And you're going to want to use that next year. Lock the room, and then that way it's there for you next year, so you can always copy that. You can use that as your own template to do another room next year with exactly the same tools again. So that's a handy thing. The other thing is you'll notice here that there's unread flags. Okay, let me come in here for a second because that just shows you that there's when it says flags, it means there's student activity that is concerning. So let me click in here for a second so you can see, and I've got no kids that have actually been active, so there's going to be no information here. But if I had students that were actively using this room, I'm going to have their names. Their last message is going to say, like, what did they send? What's the last thing they were asking? Or what's the last thing they said to the AI? What's the last tool they used? What is their status? And I'll get back to that in a second. So you can actually, you can pause students, you can lock students just like you can with a room. So you could actually say, like, I don't want this kid participating. I need to have a conversation with them about appropriate use. So I'm going to stop his use of the AI for the time being. You can also remove students from rooms if you needed to. Okay. What's nice about this is you can also then click on the student's name and you can go in and see their conversations. You can see the whole thing, the back and forth in each tool between themselves and the AI. That stuff is saved in the student account also. So if a student, which is nice because if a student, spends his time going through this stuff with the AI tutor, they may think the next day like, oh, there was a question I asked and I can't remember what the answer was, but I want to look at that. They can go in and they can actually see their conversation again and they can look and see what their answer was. If there's something in there that was inappropriate or they're trying to sidetrack the AI or whatever, and you don't want them having access to that conversation, you'll have the option to remove that particular conversation or that tool use from that student account also. Okay? All right, that was a lot in 25 minutes. Hopefully you stuck with me. Hopefully this gives you the courage to try this out with your students. If you do, I would love to hear feedback. I'd love to hear how it goes. I'd love to hear what you like, what you don't like, what your students like, what they don't like, and I'd be grateful for that. So thank you for sticking around, and again, hope you go ahead and give this a try with your students. Thanks.